looking to avoid their fourth straight defeat. Pochettino came out and has said that they're not realistic contenders in any of the competitions that they're in.
Well, good job they've sold all the season tickets then by now, because, I mean, you don't want to hear that if you're a Spurs fan. And why would you come out and say that? I mean, this guy's... You talk about...
Is it not true, though?
That's not the point. It's not the point. So... If you want managers, if you want all these Premier League managers to come out and say, oh, by the way, we've got absolutely no chance of winning the Premier League. We've got no chance, if we're in the Europa League, we've got no chance of winning that. We've got no chance of winning the Champions League if we're in that. But you know what, we'll try our best and we'll have a go at it. Do you think fans want to hear that? Certainly fans of the so-called elite top clubs do not want to hear that. They pitch up the first day of every season thinking, maybe we're going to win the title this year. That's what they think. And you don't want to listen to your manager after, what, 5 games? Saying, well, we're not going to win the league. I mean, really, come on.
I don't think they'll win the league, but let's not forget they were in another, sorry.
You okay?
Semi-final last, I was struggling to get that out. They were in the semi-final of the FA Cup again last year.
Yeah.
So there was a competition, I mean, I know it's last season, but there's a competition that they realistically could have won. And they didn't. Failed for their 8th semi-final in a row or something like that. He's a bit of an embattled manager at the moment. He's not under pressure for his job or anything like that. Of course not. That's just crazy. It's just that anybody suggesting something like that would be stupid. But what's happened here is he was kind of painted as, you know, this is going to be the next United coach, or this is going to be the next Real Madrid coach, and blah, blah, blah. And now, all of a sudden, it's almost turned a full circle in some people's eyes that, you know, well, he's actually not that good. So I think we're somewhere in the middle with Pochettino at the moment. Yeah. I think it's one of the few times in his time in charge at Spurs where, obviously with 3 defeats in a row up to this point, he's getting questions asked about him. They had a tough trip to play Inter in Milan. He's making all these changes, something that I've touched on the show, that I personally don't agree with. So I think from his perspective, 1, he needs to get his team back to winning ways, but 2, I think he needs to get some continuity within, certainly his back line, and start to get a base in which to build for, because we know going forward, we know Kane's we know he's going through a hard time, but he's going to get better again. We know Mora's looked really sharp at the start of the season. That's pretty much having a new signing. And we also know he's got good players if they get injuries, but I just think the fact that he's changing it as often as he has, I just think is not quite helping at the moment when he needs to start picking up points again.
Surely the players must be starting to wonder about this guy as well. He was talking about cows and trains last week, right? During the off-season, when they never signed anybody, he said he was happy with what he had. So he's happy that he's got a group of players that's not good enough to challenge for any of the top honours.
I think that was
he's not making any sense.
I think that was just a company line, though, from him, in terms of I'm happy with what he had. I think that was clearly he's not happy with what he had. He would always have wanted more, but I think he just played the Tottenham line and said, look, it is what it is, we're building a stadium and I'm not going to come out here and slaughter Daniel Levy before the season starts.
Think about the 3 statements. You talk about being completely and utterly miles away from each one.
I hear Gab Marcotti's training to get in.
No, look, I think these are odd things to say, just as it was very odd when he came out and he said, oh, this is going to be, you know, Tottenham's most difficult season yet since I've been here, which again is a weird thing to say when you consider that, you know, United have a lot of issues, Arsenal and Chelsea are rebuilding and whatnot. You know, well, why should it be more difficult than other years? There's a reason, and it's frustrating for those of us in the media, why managers, when faced with difficult questions, they resort to manager speak and cliches. The thing you get asked, the thing you answer rather, when you get asked, you know, do you think you're realistic contenders, or what do you realistically think you can win this season? Is you just go into that manager cliche monotone and you say, well, you know, there may be teams that are better than us, but we believe we can fight for everything and we're going to give it our best shot and who knows and blah, blah, blah. And it's boring and it's silly and it's safe. The fact that he chose not to do that, I wonder if maybe he's trying to send out some kind of message. But the problem is when you sort of speak in riddles and parables, nobody can understand what that message is.
Meanwhile, it's West Ham against Chelsea. Chelsea coming to this game off the back of that match in Greece in the Europa League. Sarri not happy with the time that he's had to recover. Bring up the fact that obviously in Italy, maybe games could be played on a Monday night. We talked about this on Extra Time yesterday.
Well, he's not in Italy now, right? And I get a bit sick of this.
It's so weird as well. Like the Champions League, no one complains when they play on the Champions League on a Wednesday and a Saturday. Thursday and Sunday is exactly the same thing.
The only sympathy I do have is playing Thursday, Sunday, for some reason, it's a psychological problem for players.
Why?
There are little things, like we were talking yesterday about, what difference does it make that Pep Guardiola's not sitting on the bench? But it makes a difference. Those little things make a difference. And psychologically, as a player, playing on a Thursday and a Sunday is foreign to you.
But it's the same.
But it's not the same. I knew you were going to say, oh, it's the same thing.
Well,
it's
you know why he did that?
What does it matter what day it is? It's psychologically it makes a difference.
3 days.
These are professional top athletes. But psychologically, they can't get their head around the fact that it's Thursday, Sunday, not Wednesday, Saturday.
Yes, that can be the only reason. Because it's got nothing to do with rest, as you pointed out. Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday.
Look, he's not.
So it's obviously what's gone on in between the 2 years.
Look, Sarri's come in. He's come in late. He's so far he's done great because he came in so late, and the transfer activity was pretty much done and dusted.
Wait, sorry. Could you get over the fact that it's Thursday, Sunday?
No, that's what I'm getting to that. What I'm saying is they've had a great start, but it is what it is, and he's not the only one that's come in to England and maybe other leagues. I mean, Klopp did it last year, moaned about Christmas fixtures, or the year before. Wenger's been in moaned about fixture lists. It is what it is. It's Thursday and Sunday now. If it was across the board every time for Europa League teams, Sunday and Monday, then fine. But I can't ever remember sitting on a flight playing in a European game or playing away in an international game and thinking, if the flight was delayed, thinking, wow, that's really going to make the game in 3 days more difficult now because I got another 6 hours before I get home. I just think we keep embedding this in players' minds.
Well, look at
it's a fallacy.
If you go and look, all the teams that have fallen into that Thursday, Sunday in the Europa League, they suffer. They don't have great seasons. The proofs are there.
Because the coach goes round telling them how it's all difficult. I tell you what's more difficult for Sarri at the moment. He's got a striker who's not firing.
How do you fix this? How do you fix Morata? Can you do anything on the pitch? Can you on the training ground during the week?
Morata's the only person that can fix this. Everybody around him.
As a coach, Stevie, how would you handle it? Like
you got to try keep encouraging him. You've got to find the balance of encouraging him, but not letting him away with being bad. You have to find a little balance. But at the end of the day, it's down to Morata.
Would you just show him videos of him scoring goals everywhere?
No.
That just shows you when fans think players get paid millions and millions, they think, oh, well, why is he playing bad? And this just shows you Morata, it's a confidence. Well, it might be one or two other things, but it's certainly confidence. Yeah. Even players that have played in Champions League final and played for Real and Juve and played for Spain can still be affected by confidence.
And the majority of the game, by the way, is played between your ears.
That's your eyes.
A full slate of Serie A action this weekend. Let's start off, shall we, with Frosinone against Juventus. Juve, of course, looking to maintain their 100% start to the season. And Cristiano Ronaldo looking to add to his tally. Of course, broke his duck last week, scoring 2. Inevitably, Gab, the focus very much on Ronaldo, not only, of course, because it's Ronaldo, but also what happened against Valencia.
Yeah, and the fact that he's likely going to get some time off in the Champions League, so he can focus and channel all his disappointment into the league. And tell you what, wouldn't want to be Frosinone here. They were absolutely mullered last weekend against Sampdoria, giving up 5 goals. They're not a great team, and on top of that, they have some significant injuries. So I don't want to throw caution to the wind here, but this is the sort of game where you expect Ronaldo to get out the abacus.
So Juve, perfect start to the season. The same, of course, can't be said for Inter. Just 4 points after 4 matches. They have really laboured so far this campaign, Gab. What's gone wrong?
A number of things have gone wrong. I mean, I think they added a lot of players. Some of them maybe Spalletti says he's happy with the side, but a number of players, the Croatian players obviously getting back from the World Cup. They're kind of fixated on certain things that I'm not sure necessarily make sense, like the idea that they need a specialist deep-lying playmaker when Brozovic, I think, when he's okay, he can do the job, or they also have Borja Valero there. I think he has to find the right pieces and fit them together in the right way. And the fact that Raja Nainggolan missed the first 3-4 weeks of the season hasn't helped either. He can be the leader that they need.
Meanwhile, Milan taking on Atalanta. Gab, what have you made of Milan so far?
I think they're good. I think they can go top 4. I love the Caldara Romagnoli partnership at the back. Higuain looks definitely up for it. His movement's been good. He looks sharp. Nobody's making any fat jokes anymore. Samu Castillejo gives you something different when he gets on the pitch. They have the creativity now in the front line with Çalhanoğlu and obviously Suso as well. I'm not 100% on board with Bakayoko, but that's okay. They have other alternatives. I mean, look, there's a gulf between Juve and everybody else, but I don't see any reason why Milan couldn't compete for that second or third spot.
Meanwhile, you take a look at the table. Ancelotti has got Napoli 4th at the moment after 4 matches. A lot of talk about Marek Hamšík's future at the club, Gab.
Yeah, obviously, look, Marek Hamšík has been at the club for what feels like 30, 40 years. It's not quite that long, but he's actually scored more goals for Napoli than Juan Diego Armando Maradona. But you wonder where he fits in. Ancelotti's still experimenting with formations. Hamšík, I thought, didn't have a great season last year under Sarri either. And with all those wingers he brought in, with the fact that we saw the 4-4-2 in midweek in the Champions League, Hamšík doesn't really fit a 4-4-2 at all, which is why he was on the bench. Looks to me like he's going to build this midfield against Zielinski and maybe in the long term, Fabian Ruiz.
Interesting stuff from Griezmann on the front page of AS this week, saying, I'm eating at the same table as Messi and Ronaldo. Sergio Ramos, not particularly impressed with that, saying ignorance can be brash. Everyone has freedom of speech, but he should listen to the likes of Simeone, Godin or Koke, people with decent principles, as it would serve him well. Is that right if Ramos to get involved in that? Is Ramos?
Well, it's up to Sergio himself, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he might be serving Messi and Ronaldo at the table, but he's not dining with them.
No, I don't think it's even a conversation.
Maybe he's coming up with these little...
What's he doing? He's got his
You've never been a waiter, by the way.
Terrible waiter. I just
You've never been a waiter.
But yeah, I mean, that's. I mean, well, if he thinks that in his own mind, fine. But that's arrogance, because
he shouldn't be saying that.
But from a coach's perspective, if you had a player saying that, would you encourage it? In the sense that that's confidence, if that can translate on the pitch, it can't do any harm, or would you tell him to calm down?
I think it would depend on the character of the person saying it. If you're coaching a guy like Griezmann, and if you go up to him and say, "Hey, by the way, calm down. What are you on about?" and you know it's going to affect him, then you don't do it. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to. It doesn't mean it's right what he's saying, but you don't want to knock him because he's playing for you.
But we know what Griezmann is like. He released that half-hour video saying he was going to stay at Atleti. He
loves himself.
Well,
he's got a high opinion.
But Ronaldo loves himself as well.
I would like to think the players would take the mickey out of him and without hurting his feelings, just have a little go at him to try and maybe just calm down a little bit. But you don't say that. Anybody who asks you that question, if you're a player, the first thing you say is, that's not for me to say. That's for other people to suggest whether I'm in that table or not.
You're right.
Not yourself.
You're right. I mean, if he wants to have a high opinion himself, fine. One second, sorry, Gab. But if Ronaldo does love himself, there's no doubt about that. But Ronaldo bags 50 goals a season for the best part of 10 years.
But is part of loving himself as Griezmann make him a better player?
Well, but not in that league. Not in that league.
But if he believes it and he's a good player...
Listen, Diego Simeone won't care if he believes it, as long as he's playing well for Diego Simeone and Atletico Madrid and producing the goods. He won't care what he says. If he doesn't, he'll need to say to him, look, forget all this Messi and Ronaldo stuff. Just try and be the best Antoine Griezmann you can be, please.
Gav?
The only way he's eating at the same table, other than serving them, is that he's one of the most important attacking players on a very good team. But that's it. I don't think he helps himself with these comments because, if he wants to say down the line, both Messi and Ronaldo are over 30 and he thinks he can be, he thinks the gap is closing, maybe in his head, sure. But there's really nothing to be gained, I think, in comparing yourself to Messi and Ronaldo, unless you happen to be Messi or Ronaldo.
Hello and welcome to Extra Time.
It's amazing, isn't it?
What's amazing, Stephen?
Well,
this is always
We've
a
gone
dangerous question.
from now for the mail with a post
Yes,
from the old stagecoach to now just going on a computer. Isn't that incredible?
there we go. If you want to know what we're talking
Yeah.
about, you can listen to the
It just made me-
podcast.
I was just thinking about that when you were reading that out. I was thinking about stagecoach.
Wow.
I could see you on the back.
You've not
You'd be
quite got the grasp of
you'd be
how his read then goes into extra time, have you?
you on about?
Some people get that read, some people don't.
Oh,
So some people are thinking, what is Stevie on about? Horses.
Well, to be fair, that might.
beg your pardon.
You haven't been doing it that long, though, have you?
No. We were talking yesterday about Xhaka going up.
Seamless.
Xhaka going up. For like the last kick of the game, was it West Ham Spurs? He found it, or someone found it on YouTube. Check out Xhaka's Twitter feed.
it's
It's
fantastic.
brilliant. This is the most entertaining, not necessarily best, but most entertaining pundit combo for Extra Time. Is there a special chance to summon these three, release the curmudgeons, bring out the grumps?
That's a backhanded compliment to some extent. Not necessarily the best. Just throw that in. Not necessarily the best.
But most entertaining. Would you prefer to be the best or the most entertaining?
I'll just do my job.
Let's do my job. That's it. 35 years of broadcasting. Just do your job.
37.
That's it. Guys, come
I'm
on.
getting like him with these cameras. They're confusing me, What bloody.
I'll give you a little tip here.
Well, the cool light's at the back. I can't see
There's
it.
a red. See the number? When it goes red, that's the camera you look
Yes, I
at.
know that.
If you have any problems with it, come
No,
back.
but it doesn't because it's always red at the moment. It's broken.
No, that one's green and that one's red.
Yes, but look, when you go to camera one, there you go.
It's green.
It's green.
And it's red at the back. I can't see it, so I'm not sure.
Guys, come on. Ronaldo's hand is clenched after he pulls away from the player's head. Doesn't that make him less innocent than most suggest? It's not a pat. Guard mark on it. It's not a pat on the head. His fist is clenched.
You know what? The clenched fist, the nails in the head, whatever. Come on now. Really? Does anybody really think that, he needs to be sent off? He violated the laws of the game. This was a violent act. Did Jason Mourinho look like he suffered a violent act? I don't know where we're going with this. It's like we need CSI to go in there.
Oh.
I don't know. Did somebody look under Mourinho's sorry, Freudian lapse. Anybody look under Cristiano Ronaldo's fingertips to see if there's bits of Jason Mourinho's hair follicles and little bits of tissue to determine whether he actually pulled the hair out of his head, or what are we doing here? I mean,
actually,
incidents like this happen.
Yeah.
Tell you what, if the guy was wearing a wig,
Yes,
then
go
we'd
ahead.
all know we'd know, right?
How?
Oh, because then he'd have pulled the wig up.
I mean, there could be some DNA evidence in a swab.
There you go.
I tell you what, Gab, I'm not an expert in facial expressions, of which you normally have many. But I would think with the facial expression you pulled at the start of this, you're duly bored with this Ronaldo stuff now.
Well, you know what? Look, what I can put up with is people writing like our colleague Mark Ogden did, that
journalism
Ronaldo
rivalry.
should blame himself. I don't necessarily agree with it, but don't put yourself in these situations. People wind you up all the time. Don't respond. He started the whole thing by barging into Murillo. Whatever. He's right. In a perfect world, Ronaldo wouldn't be doing this kind of thing. But now to this point, to go and stare at this freaking still, where even with extreme close-ups, it's like some kind of Zapruder film where we're trying to figure out what happened. Enough of this, okay?
There's some interfighting between ESPN journalists.
Well, no, sorry, that's Chief Soccer Writer Mark Ogden.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
So hold on, the Serie Awesome podcast invitee
Look, he's beating the big man.
is. Listen, I think the chief soccer writer and many other
Hold on,
journalists.
Mark Ogden. Mark Ogden.
Oh, Mark
I
Ogden's
think there
chief
should be a boxing match between our journalists, a charity boxing match. So who we got? We got Marcotti, Ogden.
So, Raf,
Not sure about Raf to be
Sid?
fair, Graham, yeah.
Sid's
Sid's a
That's
bit
a
of
little-
a He's a wet fish, isn't he?
Sid could carry the water.
He's too busy talking about this extra game and worried about Brexit.
Sid could be the sponge man.
I'd have Gav.
What about Paulo? He's got one of them kind of with that hair, isn't he? Like,
He's got kind of that with his hair.
yeah, kind of like, you know. What's that? Well, he's just hipster, isn't he?
Right, I don't know where we're going here. I'm going to move on. Is it finally time to start calling Neymar overrated after failing to sharpen in big games in both Champions League and the World Cup this year?
No, he's not overrated, but he needs to get his
That's too
finger up.
strong. I would suggest that his form isn't particularly good. I wouldn't say overrated because we do know how good he is and how good he can be. It's just at this particular time, he's having a tough time.
Let's go to ESPN
Stevie.
FC's writer, Gab Marcotti.
Stevie,
Yeah?
let me break this down very simply. He is the second highest paid player in the world.
So?
Has he been the second highest? Has he been the second best performer in the world over the past 12 months, 18 months?
I don't
whatever?
know. What did Mark Ogden say?
Stop it! I'm asking Stevie. No, because look, hey,
What bloody hell?
this overrated, underrated thing, right? The only way we can measure how somebody is rated is by the size of what somebody is willing to pay him, right? That's one vantage point that we can use.
No.
He makes substantially more money than Cristiano Ronaldo, and he makes less money than Lionel Messi.
Forget the money.
Right?
Let's just
Is
talk
he the
about
second?
the player.
Is he the second
What's
best
the money
performer
got
in
to
the
do
world?
with it? What's the? You can't.
If you're in that
Because
one.
he's talking about
red
who's
light.
overrated,
To be
right?
fair, there's two red
Well, there's
lights.
two red lights.
No, that's a green light.
That's how he's
You can't-
rated by the
These
wages he
cameras are
earns.
confusing.
Listen,
Sort that out.
If
Do
just
that.
because somebody's prepared to give
One day.
a ridiculous amount of money for somebody doesn't mean they're at a
Means they
certain
rate him,
level.
yeah?
Just because they want him and they're
It
willing
means
to.
they rate him. Otherwise, they
but
wouldn't
that's-
give them that money, right?
Yeah, but because he's the second highest paid player, doesn't mean he's the second best player.
why?
It's only just because
No, but it means
PSG
he's
are stupid
rated-
enough to give him a ridiculous amount of money doesn't mean he's the second best player in the world.
Julian Laurens is another one. How would he
So
be?
if you're stupid, Stevie, follow this. So if you're stupid for making him the second highest paid player in the world, as you certainly implied,
Yeah.
then that means you're overrating him because you're overpaying because he should be rated less than he actually is, which is what the question was.
Why no other clubs take the same
No.
amount of
Follow?
criticism
No.
as
Some people just pay what it costs, regardless.
Because they overrate the value. If you overpay, you're overrating the value. It's a definition that clues in those four letters.
So you're telling me
over.
So you're telling me that PSG thought he was the second best player in the world, and that's why they paid him that amount of money? No, not at all. Even they know he's not the
They
second best
thought
player in
that
the
he
world.
was-
But that's how much it was going to cost, and so they did it.
No, they thought that it was worth making him the second best paid player in the world,
Even though he wasn't the
get him.
second best player in the world.
which means they overrated him and overpaid
They
him.
didn't overrate him. They knew before he started he wasn't the second best player in the world, but they paid him the second best player's wages. That's because they just wanted him that desperately. That's got nothing
But
to do
they
with
got
that's
him
got
that they
nothing
wanted
to
him
do
that
with whether he's
desperately because they
overrated or
thought he
not.
was very good.
You could
But
go
it's
on
because
this.
they thought he was very good.
Do you really think that they thought he was the second best player in the world when they signed him?
Okay, I think we're going to move on. I think that's
the
it.
point.
Surely that's it. I think we've
I think
probably
we can have a new
covered all of it.
podcast.
We've got more questions. but I
Gab
think-
and Stevie
Gab, hey, Gab,
podcast on
Gab.
Neymar overrated.
Gab, I'll give you a call later. We'll finish
Monday.
this later on.
All right, we'll keep this up.
Wow.
This is going to pop up.
No, Craig, we're going to miss it. What a shame.
What's that? Miss what?
ESPN FC returns tomorrow. Steve Nicol will be with Alexis.
Really enjoyed that.
Breaking down what happens tomorrow.
Look who's back as my challenger in Predictor, Craig Burley, with his very dapper jacket. But we're doing La Liga Predictor now, Craig. So let's start off with Getafe Atletico Madrid. I'm going to go for a draw in this one, just because I cannot trust Atletico Madrid these days.
I'm going to go for a draw as well because Getafe have started the season very well, and although they won in Monaco, They've been a little scratchy, so I'm going to go for a draw.
Oh, look at that. Us agreeing. I'll just have you know that I called it first. Moving on, Real Madrid against Espanyol. Can they bounce back from their draw last weekend?
Yeah, they need to win, and they were very quite impressive against Roma in midweek, particularly Gareth Bale, who was mustard, and Asensio, who tried to score a bit of a fancy goal. So I think back to winning ways.
Yep, exactly. How can I even argue with you on that one? Oh, he doesn't want to come. Maybe I should go for Espanyol.
Well, it does,
Levante.
here's the deal. You just touch it once, and then you touch the thing.
I know.
Very difficult, you know.
I'm getting nervous because
think when
Craig's such a challenger.
Well, you might need touchscreen training.
I might need
touch. Right.
Levante, Sevilla. I'm going to go with Sevilla.
Okay, Sevilla, big win in the Europa League, but again, Levante, both teams sit in similar places in the table. I think I'm going to go for another draw here.
Oh, you're fancy to you. Villarreal, Valencia.
I'm going to go for another draw here. I'll tell you why. Valencia sitting 17th, been a really poor start for them, lost to Juve, didn't look great. Villarreal, they're not far above them in the league, and I just saw them draw with Glasgow Rangers yesterday of Scotland, 2-2 at home. I wasn't impressed, so neither have started well. No, I'll tell you what, I wasn't impressed with them at all. I've changed my mind. I'm going to go for Valencia.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I'm going to go for Valencia because I just
Convinced
wasn't
himself.
impressed with them at all yesterday.
Well, for that, I want to go for the draw, but you know what? Let me just go for a Villarreal win at home. Why
I
not?
thought you were going first.
I was, but we switched
You
things up
changed.
now.
You've bought
Barcelona against Girona. Can you even make a case? I guess not. Craig went first there.
No, I mean, they're
So
looking.
I'm going to go. I mean, it is. Do we even need to give an explanation
I think
for
you'll
that?
find these are all going to come. They're going to come up trumps.
Craig Burley, he really is the challenger of all challengers. Thanks so much to Craig. Continue tracking all the action from La Liga. You know where? Right here at ESPN FC. Juventus traveled to Frosinone at the weekend to face him in what I guess we can call a David and Goliath clash, because Frosinone, with all due respect, 19th in the table, 1 point only. They got absolutely spanked last weekend, 5-0. But now let's talk about Ronaldo, because we have to, Craig. Allegri was saying that this is the kind of game that he needs to focus on because he can possibly change the headlines for it. How can he use this game to help himself after the whole Champions League tears?
Yeah, I mean, back to basics, I suppose. I don't see if Ronaldo scores a hat-trick against Frosinone that's going to change the headlines much. Maybe if it was against one of the big boys. But I suppose a chance just to get going up and put midweek disappointment behind them. This is a poor side sitting second bottom of Serie A at the moment. The other side of the coin, I think, is more important for Allegri as the season builds. He's been tinkering with how he's going to get the best from Ronaldo. Last week, Mandzukic was involved again, and Dybala played. I think the week before, Ronaldo played a little bit wider in one of the games. So he's kind of trying to find the best balance of the supporting cast to get, obviously, the best out of the main guy. Getting in the goals last week helped against Sassuolo. It wasn't a great performance, but it certainly got better as the game went on, and he got his 2 goals. He should have had more. Missed a gilt-edged chance. I think it came off his shin on the volley not long after. So the goals are going to come. And they're going to be the team to beat again, and I think he's going to rack them up. The slow start's well and truly over. But at the end of the day, they didn't buy Ronaldo to beat these sort of, small teams in Italy. It's going to be all about the Champions League for Juventus this year, and we know how big a disappointment that was for him in midweek.
That's kind of, God bless Frosinone, because Cristiano Ronaldo will
He'll be licking
entering
his
this
lips
one
for a few goals
with a vengeance, and this is the exact game that he wants to do so. Sergio Aguero has signed an extension at Manchester City that will keep him there until 2021. By the time that deal expires, he would have been at City for a decade, and he is City's all-time leading goal scorer. 204 goals, Craig. Where does he rank for you?
Put it one way, if I was managing a team or running a team, I'd want an Aguero in there, absolutely. The guy scores big goals, he scores regular goals, he scores excellent goals, he scores individual goals. He's got that low centre of gravity, he's very powerful, he's got a good turn of pace, he's brave. Sometimes I feel a bit frustrated at times when maybe Pep rotates it a little bit there, but absolutely brilliant. I love the guy, I love watching him play. Ironically, and myself included, I talked about it a couple of years back, and there was some rumours flying around that maybe this new manager at City would not take kindly to some of the antics or suggestions that he was maybe enjoying himself in Manchester a little bit. And listen, we've all sort of done that as younger guys. But these seem to have well and truly gone away. Jesus has been preferred at the odd occasion, but for me, if I was picking the first 11 now, and Jesus is a good player, but Aguero starts. He starts for me every time.
Well, as we said, he is Manchester City's all-time leading goal scorer with his 204 goals. If we have a look at his stats in the Premier League, Craig, in terms of strikers, where does he fall for you? Top 5, top 10 that you've seen?
I think it's difficult. One, because my memory's not great, and two, because I played against some good ones in my era.
Yeah.
You know, Thierry Henry and Alan Shearer and a young Robbie Fowler was around, and a young Michael Owen was coming through. I tell you, he was very young when we played against him. But yeah, I mean, if you put a list of them together, he's very much, he's in that mix. He's in the Shearer, he's in the Henry. I'm not saying he's a better player than Thierry Henry, by the way, who's probably the best ever foreign player in the Premier League. But what I'm saying is, he's in the mix in terms of if you're picking a team, he's one of the names that you would mention. I was lucky enough, I'd say, when he scored that goal when City won the league for the first time against QPR. I mentioned QPR because we've actually got a QPR supporter in this room in America, which is very strange.
Very strange indeed.
But I was fortunate enough to be commentating on that game for the World Feed when it all seemed to be slipping away for City. And I was working with Peter Drury when Aguero scored that great goal. If you wanted one guy with a minute left in the clock, with United already thinking they'd won the title at Sunderland, if you wanted one guy, it was him to bury QPR that day. Which was a big shock because it took them 90 odd minutes, and he was the guy, and he's still the guy now.
Indeed. I mean, Joey Barton tried to stop him, but he failed miserably in that one. And Sergio Aguero, you've got Craig Burley's nod of appreciation, and trust me, that's not very easy to get.
Huh?
Craig Burley joining me as we talk about Tottenham Hotspur, specifically about Harry Kane. If we have a look at some interesting stats, Craig, well, we know that it's slight turbulent times at Spurs now, but this is the real thing. If we compare his stats from the beginning of last season to this season, the games and the goals seem to be the same, but look at his shots, 32 last season and only 12 this time around. There's been a lot of talk about fatigue after the World Cup.
Yeah.
How big of a problem is this for Spurs and for him?
Well, I'm not in the camp of, rich footballers can't get tired. So I don't know. You know, they can get tired. I can't say if he is or not. I mean, only the lad himself would know that.
But what do you see that's different about it?
With 3 defeats in a row for Spurs and with Brighton coming up, it's a big period for them. It's a big period from him as well. I don't think it's a long-term problem. I think it's a short-term. Clearly, it's a short-term problem for both player, manager and club. What we saw from that graphic there was he has started slow before. There's many players have started slow. Cristiano Ronaldo has started slow again, as he did for Real Madrid last season. But one thing was the shots. When you 32, I think to was it 5? Anyway,
To
it was
12 now.
To 12. It was way below. What you think with Harry Kane, he gets in the box, he scores the goals, the strikers' goals. But often you'd see him, balls going up to him, he's big and strong, and he'd drift out to the right or the left, and he'd take a touch, and he'd swivel inside, and he'd bash. He would be shooting from 20 yards, 25 yards with regularity and getting that dip on the ball. He's a very good technician. You watch him passing the ball. Watch him hit a lot of diagonals when he's trying to link up the play. He's a very good striker of the ball. But what I think we've got here is yeah, there might be a bit of fatigue, I don't know, but he's dropping a lot deeper. And you've got Lucas Moura, a different partner for him, or a different player around him, and he's very quick, and he's been great at the start of the season, but he's making these runs in behind. So I don't know if it's something that Pochettino, Kane and Spurs are trying to drag centre-halves out, away from goal, to get runners like Dele Alli or Lucas Moura in behind. But certainly for me, the further, if I'm a player and I'm playing against Harry Kane and he's getting further away from my penalty box and my goal, I'm winning the lottery. You know what I mean? I'm happy. That's where I want him. So I think for me, he's got to concentrate more on that last 30 yards of the pitch. I don't want to see him dropping too deep. I don't too many times in the game. I don't want to see him drifting too wide too many times in the game. I want to see him playing between that 18-yard line, and I want to see Tottenham getting balls in the box. I think if they do that and he plays to his strengths, we'll see Harry Kane pretty much picking up where he left off. But if he continues to drop 30, 40, 50 yards from his goal to let runners go in, and also defenders are very wary of him these days because he's a very high-profile player, things are going to get tough for Harry to continue that goal scoring. So it's back to basics, bread and butter, and do what you paid to do and do what we know you're good at. That's get in that box and start putting the ball in the back of the net again.
Well, you touched a bit on what Pochettino possibly is doing, and we have been talking a lot about what Pochettino should or should not be doing. Is there anything else that he's probably doing now, probably with the team, that you think is not helping Harry as much as it should?
Well, making about 3 trillion changes every time I look at a Spurs team sheet would help. And I know you change forward players sometimes, I know you change midfielders, but I just give a couple of examples of great teams, and certainly one, you know, when Man United were having their great success, the back four really never changed apart from injury. We see it at Real Madrid and Barcelona all the time. I mean, how often are Messi and Ronaldo rested, the key players? How often is Ramos and Varane not playing if Ramos and Varane are fit? How many times are Marcelo and Carvajal not playing when fit? And we see Liverpool this year having early success with a back four that hasn't changed. I think too many changes for Tottenham from a back line to a midfield and for forward players as well, because we saw Eric Lamela play and we saw Son play in Italy in midweek, and that's been a big change. And I just think for me, and I've said it on the show, I'm sick to the back teeth. I think Pochettino's going to get more of a base before he makes, you know, playing Trippier one week and Aurier the next and Rose one week and
too many changes.
And Davis the next, and then Alderweireld's out and Sanchez is in, and it's a back three and it's a back four. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Exactly.
They've got a lot of good players. They're bringing in good players, don't get me wrong. He's bringing in good players, but there's no real continuity there. And when you're in a bad streak, and when you're on a losing streak, you need continuity.
All right, well, there you have it from Craig Burley. But as you say, this probably is not a long-term problem, at least for that man right there, when we know exactly what he can do.
You know, West Ham won on the weekend. See that?
Yes, yeah, working soccer shack.
Tell you what's more of a red card than Ronaldo is Gab's collar.
I like it. Peter Walton back in the studio. You just come back for more.
Back for more and more and more. Why is that?
Probably because I'm cheap.
Well, Ali beats Steve Nicol, and let's face it, I'm surprised Stevie could switch the computer on. Who was your star then, Craig?
When you get a bad defeat, the buck stops with the manager.
Yeah.
When you get a good defeat, you get all the credit. I was the star. I picked the team.
What an idiot.
I picked the team. I'm taking all the credit.
I went babysitting.
Oh, lovely.
I babysat in
Where's that?
Philadelphia. It was fantastic.
Where were you?
Last
Sitting
time
in
we
the
were
house
here
for 5 days can hardly be called a holiday.
Well, it's your choice. You had time off. It's a holiday.
I didn't have a choice.
Who told you to have?
My wife told me I was going where. I said I wasn't going, so we compromised. So I went.
Yeah, Douglas.
Have you ever been in a fight, Jack?
Yeah.
Have you?
Okay.
With who?
Did you just look at him? Does it look like he's been
Who
in a
did you have a
fight?
fight with?
They're not around anymore.
What did they die of laughing?
And I was cautioning booking a player, and he duly puked up on me. And it went down the front, down there.
Hold on. A professional player. Had he been out the night before, or was he
I have no idea, but
This is the most disgusting segment we have ever done.
That's only shrunk, actually, my snot.
No, it's not. Here's the deal.
Oh, dry your tears, Julian.
Poor old Jules.
Hey.
Did it come with those glasses?
It did, actually. That was at the fair, wasn't it? With the,
I'll have
I remember that.
As a youngster, he went down and he went, I'll have that nose with those glasses.
And that tash.
Do you know what, though? At what point have you come in here in the last 2 or 3 weeks and said, I'm convinced Man United are going to be consistent? I'll tell you. None. In the green room back there, when we're not on camera. Oh, they're bad. Oh, Mourinho. And now we sit here and say, oh yeah, they're just going to go through.
Good. Right. Let's just take
Why be a hypocrite?
Jay-Z or Kanye West?
Oh,
What?
Jay-Z all day long. Kanye West.
I just want to follow Steve on this because his conviction was so strong that he must be right.
Someone's got to tell me how much does a proper post box with laminated
A mailbox.
inscription in it? How much does it cost? Because the
Does it
wife
say the
won't tell me.
nickels on?
If you move house, you're gonna have to get another mailbox because you can't.
I'm not moving. Don't worry.
I believe last year when we all went out, where Stevie didn't know his address.
That's correct.
I got the two numbers the wrong way around.
How did we get here?
I don't know. We have
Would you rather take it to a whole new level? How is the mailbox, Stevie? Is it up yet?
No. I'm not paying him to put it up.
It's just going to sit there.
I'm going to shove it in myself.
To be fair, he had an excuse that night for not remembering his address.
What was the excuse, Craig?
Well, he'd been out, but he didn't have an excuse for the time I sat at the computer through there and tried to book him a flight back to the UK, and we had to cancel the operation because he couldn't remember his address that day either.
When?
We were filling it in with your credit card, and we came to the crucial point. It said, "What's the address on the credit card?" And he went, "Let me go and phone the missus."
Stevie. But now you've got a new sparkly mailbox to remind you.
Yeah,
every day.
expensive
I've heard.
sparkly
I've heard.
mailbox.
25% off though, wasn't it, Stevie?
Oh,